Hello, and thank you for joining us for the 2024 Softball Rules Module. Thank you for your time being a coach or official. My name is Lisa Quedno, Associate Director for the Minnesota State High School League. Narrating this model will be Jason Nickleby, MSHSL Assistant Director, and Rachel Palmer, MSHSL Softball Coordinator of Officials. Thanks again and have a great season.
We'll now cover general softball information before reviewing the rules changes for 2024, and then we'll cover the points of emphasis for this year and wrap up the module with a review of several rules and administrative reminders. Prior to the start of the contest, the host school is responsible for determining whether or not the conditions present a threat to the safety of participants and spectators, and will determine whether or not the contest will begin. Once the contest begins, the officials have the authority to postpone or suspend a contest due to unsafe weather conditions. That decision may not be overruled. School officials also have this authority. On-site medical professionals should also be consulted and included in the decision-making process. The superintendent or his or her designee may overrule an official and suspend or postpone a contest once it has begun. In other words, once a contest has begun, either the officials or school authorities may overrule an official and suspend or postpone a contest once it has begun. While lightning on the horizon should warn of potential danger, lightning associated with thunder or thunder alone means that there is an immediate danger to athletes, officials, and spectators. The adage, "if you can hear it, clear it," should be used to make decisions to postpone or cancel the activity. When considering resumption of an athletic activity, the league recommends that everyone should wait at least 30 minutes after the last flash of lightning or sound of thunder before returning to the field or activity. After the game has been temporarily postponed, umpires and coaches should communicate about next steps. Umpires, please understand that you're working an outdoor sport and you may have games that will have delays. We should not look to cancel the game at the first opportunity. Coaches, umpires should not be expected to stay around the site for several hours just in case you might be able to get the game in. As a reminder, if a coach, parent, or other concerned party has an eligibility question, such as chemical or behavior, should direct those questions to the activities director. Even if a softball player is ineligible, the umpires are not to rule on such matters, and all inquiries should be directed to the activities director of the school involved. Even if an AD asks for a player to be removed, the AD needs to do this. Umpires do not get involved in alleged bylaw infractions.
Hello, this is Rachel Palmer. I'm the coordinator for officials for the State High School League, and I will be narrating this portion of the program. Electronic information may be transferred to the dugout from anywhere outside of live ball area. However, electronic devices used for coaching purposes may only be utilized in the dugout. Beginning January 2027, uniforms may only bear a single manufacturer's logo, school name, school logo, mascot, and/or the participant's name. Advertisements, messages, team slogans, etc. will no longer be permitted. Consistent language has been established for the NFHS that describe what information is permitted on the uniform. A player's name, school nickname, school mascot, and/or the school logo may be placed on the uniform. There is no longer a color restriction for headbands and ribbons. However, plastic visors and bandanas are still illegal. This adds consistency amongst headwear requirements for other NFHS sports. A wristband with a playbook or play card may only be worn on player's wrist or arm or kept in the back pocket. It may not be worn on the belt. If a pitcher wears one, it must be on the non-pitching arm. This rule clarifies where equipment can be worn. This change will prohibit wristbands from being worn on the belt. It remains legal for players to keep the wristband with the play card in their back pocket. The umpire may end a game if playing conditions around the facility become unacceptable to safely continue the game. This rule provides justification when an umpire ends a contest due to unacceptable playing conditions to continue to play in addition to to weather. The pitcher may now have both feet off the ground at the same time, as long as both feet remain within the 24-inch width of the playing plate and the pitcher does not replant the pivot foot. A replant of the pivot foot occurs when the pitcher pushes off the playing surface from anywhere other than the pitcher's plate prior to the act of delivering the pitch. Pitchers may only use dirt, powdered rosin, or a comparable drying agent that are listed on the USA Softball Certified Equipment webpage to dry the hand. And now for the 2024 NFHS Softball editorial changes. The NFHS has added the words "when initially detected" to clarify what occurs when a damaged bat is initially discovered in the game. The bat will be removed from the game. Rule 161 updates the current stamp used by NOCSE for approved batting helmets. The NFHS has added the wording "in contact with the pitcher's plate" to clarify where the pitcher is required to take or simulate taking a signal from the catcher. If the player does not pause to take or simulate taking a signal in this position, it is an illegal pitch. Rule 712, Penalty 2. This changes the formatting and the penalty to clarify the effects of when an improper batter becomes a runner or is put out and the defensive team appeals to the umpire before the next pitch. Rule 712, Penalty 3. This formats the penalty to clarify the effect for when an improper batter has completed their turn at bat and no appeal has been made before the next pitch. Rule 744. This formats the rule to clarify the various ways that a batter can interfere with the catcher's fielding or throwing. Formatting the rule more clearly defines the actions of a batter that would constitute interference with the catcher's fielding or throwing. And now we will discuss the 2024 NFHS Softball Points of Emphasis. The first point of emphasis is in game management. The team has 60 seconds between innings. The umpire and coach communication should be conversational, not confrontational. Professionalism should be followed by coaches and umpires to maintain a successful working relationship. Although umpires are not there to rush the players, one of their responsibilities is to help maintain a good flow of the game. Unacceptable conditions. Umpire jurisdiction is limited to the confines of the field of play. Issues outside of the field of play, such as spectator behavior, is monitored and controlled by event management. Absent a designated event manager, the home team's head coach assumes this responsibility. However, if conditions become unacceptable for play due to spectator conduct, umpires have authority to end the contest. In addition to spectator behavior, other external conditions could result with the umpire having to end the contest. For example, at the start of a game, a wildfire might be safe distance with winds carrying the smoke away from the field. If these conditions change and result in conditions becoming unacceptable for play, it may result in the umpire having to call the game. Unreported versus illegal substitutions. An illegal substitute is a player who is ineligible to occupy a position in the lineup. This can occur when a player enters or re-enters the game without eligibility to do so. That is an illegal re-entry. Re-enters the game in the wrong position in the batting order, is the flex, and enters the game as a batter or runner in a different position in the batting order than the DP, or violates the courtesy runner rule. All of these violations result in an illegal substitution, and the offender is restricted to the bench or dugout for the first offense. In contrast to an illegal substitute, an unreported substitute is a player that could legally occupy the position they are in the lineup, but has simply failed to report that they are entering the game. The first offense results in a team warning.
This video will examine a pitch where the pitcher has both feet disengaged from the playing surface at the same time. Rule 247 covers a replant. A replant of the pivot foot occurs when the pitcher pushes off the playing surface from anywhere other than the pitcher's plate prior to the act of delivering the pitch. Rule 612C. While pushing off from the pitcher's plate, both feet may be disengaged from the playing surface as long as they remain within the 24-inch width of the pitcher's plate and do not create a replant of the pivot foot, resulting in the pitcher being farther away from the pitcher's plate. Pushing off with the pivot foot from a place other than the pitcher's plate, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate, is illegal. Key points from these rules. Rule 247, prior to the act of delivering the pitch. And Rule 612C, does not create a replant that moves the pitcher farther away from the pitcher's plate or pushes off from a place other than the pitcher's plate, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate. Now let's step through this pitch. At this point, the pitcher has started their pitch. Their hands are separated, while the pivot foot is still in contact with the pitcher's plate. Items to consider. Did the pitch start while the pivot foot was still in contact with the pitching plate, and both feet were within or partially within the 24-inch length of the pitcher's plate? In this case, the answer is yes, and the pitch started legally. The pivot foot is in contact with the ground prior to the non-pivot foot. This is not an illegal action. The umpire must judge that the pivot foot pushes from this point, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate for an illegal pitch to be ruled. The umpire must judge if the actions of the pivot foot affect the travel of the non-pivot foot, or does it continue on the same path, making this action legal. Or does the pivot foot push from this point, moving the pitcher forward, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate, which would make this pitch illegal. We must determine if the pivot foot pushes from somewhere other than the pitcher's plate, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate. In this case, it does not, which makes that action legal. The non-pivot foot is in contact with the ground. At this point, it is impossible for the non-pivot foot to become closer to home plate unless it is lifted again. Once the non-pivot foot is landed and the forward motion to release the ball has started, the pitcher is considered to be in the act of delivering the pitch. Once the non-pivot foot is on the ground and the pitcher is in the act of delivering the pitch, the action is legal. At this point, the pitch has been released and no further actions by the pitcher's feet could result in an illegal pitch. Since both feet are within or partially within the 24-inch length of the pitcher's plate when the ball is released, this is a legal pitch. This is a full speed replay. This replay is at half speed. This pitch should be ruled legal as no part of the pitching rule was violated. There was no replant of the pivot foot resulting in the pitcher being farther from the pitcher's plate. The pivot foot did not push from any place other than the pitcher's plate, resulting in the non-pivot foot becoming closer to home plate.
The allowance for both feet to disengage from the playing surface while delivering a pitch has increased the concern about pitching mechanics involving a replant of the pivot foot. A replant prior to delivery would result in an illegal pitch. It is an illegal action if the pitcher slides their pivot foot forward past the pitching plate, pushing off to start their movement from a position in front of the pitching plate, and no part of their foot is still in contact with or over the pitching plate. Closing the hip is pushing with the pivot foot while delivering the pitch. Depending on the pitching style, the pitcher will either bring their pivot foot forward to square up towards the batter, or they will tuck the pivot foot behind the non-pivot foot. This push during the act of delivering the pitch is legal.
And now for the Minnesota points of emphasis. We play by NFHS rules. Umpires should not apply rules from other codes for our games. There's a warning given to a coach if there's unreported substitution. The player is not out. Leaving early is a dead ball, out, and no pitch. An illegally batted ball is a dead ball, out. The entire foot needs to be out of the box, on the ground, and the benefit of the doubt should go to the batter. Batter interference is also a dead ball, out. Coaches, players, or other team personnel must be in the dugout or dead ball territory as defined in Rule 222.4 during the opponent's infield practice prior to the start of each game. The only exception to this modification would be the pitcher and catcher who are warming up in foul territory while using proper protective equipment, and one or two personal protectors who are wearing a glove and a helmet. No warm-up activity shall take place during the pregame conference. Umpires, use preventative officiating to avoid any issues before they escalate. Umpires must always treat coaches with respect and treat them equally. Coaches are very sensitive when you spend more time with the coach of one team than the other. Be equal, consistent, and fair with all coaches, no matter their gender, age, experience, race, or previous relationships with that coach. Perceptions are critical. Do everything possible to show that you are unbiased. Umpires, when having issues with a coach, do not threaten or say what you're going to do if behavior doesn't change. Instead, use a comment that will diffuse the situation. This will allow for options of how you respond. When making a specific threat, such as not another word, you will need to follow through, or you may lose control and/or the respect of that coach. A 15-run rule is effective for all regular and postseason games. This rule covers games where a team is behind by 15 and has completed its turn at bat after 3.5 or 4 innings of play. Please note that this is not after 2.5 or 3 innings. A game is considered complete when 5 whole innings have been completed or the home team is ahead after 4.5 innings. Play has gone beyond 5 innings, but there is an exception for the state tournament. If a game is called when there have not been an equal number of turns at bat, the score will be the same as the end of the last completed inning, unless the home team ties or goes ahead in their half inning, and the score is recorded when the game is called. A game that ends before it has become a regulation game, or a game that ends in a tie, is considered a suspended game. A suspended game is continued from the point of interruption with the same lineup and batting order as was in place at the time of the suspension. In Minnesota, there is never a situation that you would start a game over once it has begun.
Hi, this is Jason. I'm back to cover a few administrative items before concluding this module. The NFHS has a new website to access the online rules books and casebooks, and this is the All Access site. Go to www.allaccess.nfhs.org to register and to find out more about their online rules publications. Once you go to the website for NFHS All Access, you will download the mobile app, and then you may purchase the rules books and casebooks via the app. The app allows the rules books to be searchable. There's a table of contents. You can mark up for later use, and there are also highlights and quiz questions. Please again log on to the All Access website to register and then download the app to purchase the rules book or casebook within the app. The NFHS Learning Center is the home to more than 90 online professional development courses for everyone within the interscholastic community, including coaches, students, officials, parents, and administrators. There are more than 60 courses that are available for free. Go to nfhslearn.com to register and to learn more about these courses. The NFHS has partnered with USA Softball to present the online coaching softball course. Go to nfhslearn.com to view the trailer, description, an outline for this course and encourage your coaches to sign up today. Coaches and umpires are asked to contact their regional coordinator for any questions on rules, rule interpretations, umpiring mechanics, or other questions regarding umpiring. The state coordinator for softball and the regional coordinator for Southwest Minnesota is Rachel Palmer of North Mankato. Those of you in the west and northwest areas are to contact Charlie Johnson of Hitterdal or Kobe Pennick of Fargo. Tom Keller of St. Cloud will serve the west central, central, and northeast areas. The southeast area is covered by Marshall Behrens of Rochester, and Robert Crow will cover the metro area. Their contact info is available on both Arbiter and the coach's dashboard. We want to welcome Kobe Pennick, who is shadowing this year with Charlie Johnson.